Well, howdy, howdy. This is Cubbypotamus, and it's a great day because we are looking at new pots. Now, some time ago, I was talking to Kiwi and just having a really great time with her, and I said, you know, you're kind of a love object, right? You know, the only role you play in my life is that you're just someone that I can love on, you know, and there's no strings or obligations, you know, that's just it, you know, you're just someone I spend time with and I love. And I think that such a big problem is, you know, that we don't have small friendships and we don't love people just a little. You know, allow me to elaborate. Now, there's big friends and small friends. There's big love and small love. Right? To start with, well, with love. Right? Now, if you take this definition and think of love in this way, right, that love is only giving and it asks nothing in return, you know. That all you want is to be in your loved one's presence, right? And, you know, that you want nothing more than that. Just to be with them. You don't want to change them or control them, right? And you're just giving and you experience love in loving people, you know, not in them loving you, right? So you care, you just want their benefit, you want to be in their presence, you know, experience it by loving them, and you'll give them up if that's the best thing for them. Now, if you think about love like that, then, well, it's very simple and very common. Ryan Terabin, the man I got this idea from, seems to have this kind of lofty idea of love, you know, that if it wasn't like perfect or something, it wasn't really love, or etc., etc., and I agree with him on most things. I disagree strongly on that. You know, if that's love, then it's pretty easy to love, you know. I can read people just in my comment sections, you know, and they tell me their stories, you know, and my heart goes out to them. I feel love for them. I want to be in their presence at least a little bit, and I want nothing best for them. I ask nothing more. I love them, right? And that's a good thing. You know, I think small love might even be better than big love. And the world needs a hell of a lot more small love. Now, there's big friends and small friends. You know, as I define it, you know, big friends you depend on, right? They meet your needs, they go to your graduations, you know, they're there for you, etc., etc., and they're small friends. Small friends you connect with, right? That's all they're there for, right? You know, you can have a small friend, you have a great conversation, you connect with him, you know, and 5 years later you might see him and it's like a day hasn't passed, right? You know, and when you learn how to people, you can get tremendous intimacy from small friends, and that's a good thing. It's good. There's a lot of reasons to get intimacy from people that you don't depend on, right? And you're not looking to find anything more from, right? That you don't hold on. Now, I'm working on ways, I'm working on the cubbypotamus Society of Autistic Friends, right? And it's a group where we learn how to people and have people to people with, right? And it's been an amazing couple weeks, right? And my original plan was that I would sell pots and conversations, and I would talk, have a half-hour conversation, and, that'd be it, And, I'm not having half-hour conversations. 2, 3, 4-hour conversations. These amazing conversations and these amazing connections, right? And it's all about the structure and the way you look at it that make that possible. You need boundaries and context for that. And the most important thing is that you have to grant them their freedom. Right? If they are not free to love, they are not free to love you. And the Peopler's Code, it's a code that two people can take to have an understanding, to lay a groundwork for, just friendship or whatever, right? That, you can avoid all of these mistakes that autistic people make when making friends that drive them away, and an understanding of these things, right? And, with the society, I'm working on making explicit all the implicit cues and stuff, right? So we can understand it and just talk about it, right? And overcome all these things that just give us problems, And if you learn how to people and connect with people, that's a big time, right? So much of the time we fantasize, right? Like, I'm going to get married, So you do all this work, you get your degree, your grad degree, and work and work and work. So you're ready to meet someone, you meet them, and it's not great, right? You're living in the future, right? And that might not even be great, but what if you can have that kind of connection, right? Just today. You can cut out the middleman, right? We think of special times in our life, like when, back in college, it's this amazing time, and you make all these friends, right? And you think that it's all about circumstance, and, you just have to have the right circumstances to make those college type of friends that, you can not see for 5 years and just connect with them, and you just miss so much. You can make friends like that and have intimacy like that and connection, right? And it doesn't have to depend on circumstance if you know how to people, right? As just talking to in cubbypotamus society, it's successful, if the two meet someone and you connect or whatever. And so far it's 100% success rate. And I'm looking to connect, and it's like, talking road trips and stuff, and visiting already, by not holding on, right? So, no, you don't need circumstances, and you can cut out the middleman, right? When you give people freedom, right, that you're not going to hold on to them, it opens up, right? Because they don't have to be good looking or interesting or this or that. No, you can connect with just normal people, right? You can connect with almost anyone if you do it right, and you'll feel close to them. But you need that safety, knowing that they're not going to hold on, to allow yourself to feel for them, right? That's probably the single biggest mistake that people are doing all the time, right? They too fast, too soon, they get all excited and stuff, and then it cools down a little, and the other person's like, oh my goodness, I'm in a relationship, I have all these obligations, and right? They stop thinking about the fun they're having, and then they realize that your well-being is contingent on them, and that scares the crap out of them, and they bolt. Right? That's the big thing. That happens all the time, right? And we need to have an understanding, right, that, and a way to trust people not to hold on. Right? You know they're not going to hold on, and you know that your well-being, then they know that your well-being is not contingent on them, right? You know, then you can connect, right? So we need to celebrate small love, right? And things like what I call an O+. An O+ conversation is when you run into a stranger and just have a small conversation with them and you connect with them about meaningless things. That's better than an orgasm, right? And to just have those goals. Oh, I had my first O+. You know, I still remember those conversations and talked about hiking and guys' kids, you know, and just to feel close in that, right? And to take just small opportunities and find just big intimacy and connection in that, and just leave it at that. Right? That shit adds up. And that changes, I guess, the whole atmosphere, you know, of those places, right, that you're in. I go to the VA hospital in Omaha, you know, and kindness, it's just palpable. You can cut it with a knife. It flows through the doors. It is one of the most kind places I've ever been. You know, just the bedside manner extends to everyone, you know. You know, I was watching a doctor, and he's talking to the woman at the Starbucks counter, you know, and just kind of this great kindness and respect, and it's like, man, I wish I worked at Starbucks if I was there, right? It's just awesome, you know, and that's kind of a benchmark, right? You know, and how do we bring real-world connection in real time to people? You know, so many organizations and things, you know, they all get together, but people just don't have good talks. You know, they don't feel close to each other. They don't experience love. You know, it's uncomfortable, right? But there's a better way, right? There are ways to connect with people, and ways to people with people that are satisfying, right? And reliable. You know, you can have a lot of small friends, you know, and you don't have to hold on, right? And, well, yeah. Mm-hmm. So, keep peopling, my friends. This was cubbypotamus, and maybe I'll see you around sometime.